Ready, set, Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Dotson, and my fellow nerds, Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
And Garrett Price.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going swell, guys. We're here on a beautiful July day doing our first ever Dynasty Startup Mock Draft. And you're like, hey guys.
Wait a minute. This is the first startup draft you've ever done, Rich?
Yes. I hope I do well. And then I'm going to start a Dynasty website and see how it goes.
All right.
Yeah, so you might be asking, hey, what is a special occasion? Now, if you go to your app store, whether it be Android, Apple, and you Google Dynasty Fantasy Football, there is now a Dynasty Nerds app that you can go to. And what does this app do for right now?
Mock draft.
All
day long.
Now, what's nice is we're going to take the whole website, the Dynasty GM tool. It's all going to go to this app eventually. But right now, we are the only mock draft app out there for Dynasty Fantasy Football.
Where's the cheer button? I feel like there needs to be a sound effect for that.
We're producer-less today, so there's no sound effects. And what's great about this mock draft tool is, one, it's a ton of fun, right? You got a bathroom break, you want to have some fun, get in there and mock draft, see where the values are, and see if you still got it. Now, today, we're going to be drafting from the 6th spot, right in the middle. On the next episode, if you're a Nerd Herd member, we're going to do a Superflex tight end premium mock draft, and we're going to push ourselves to the back and see how we can handle pick right around number 11. And what's great about this, you can do your rookie drafts, standard, PPR. If you're in a Scott Fishbowl right now, you can do a Scott Fishbowl mock draft. Just Superflex, your rookie mock drafts. If you're a Dynasty GM Nerd Herd member, this draft tool will import your picks and let you draft just like you're in your real league. And now we encourage everybody to use this tool as well, because the data that we'll be able to provide you from this app will be very valuable. Where most sites and most other people, they conduct a couple mock drafts, right? At the beginning of the month, they hold like 6, 7, 8 mock drafts, and that's your ADP for the month. And a lot of that is standard in Dynasty because it's what you got. At Dynasty Nerds, we're looking to do better, and we're looking to provide our users up to the hour accurate ADP. So the more mock drafts that you do, the more information we will provide not only to our common users, but the Nerd Herd as well, as our player cards are about to expand. So we're really excited about this. You go to the App Store today, just Google Dynasty Nerds, find our app, download it, leave us a 5-star review if you like it. We really appreciate that as well. And there's a lot of things to come. Just like if you're a Nerd Herd member, how much that's grown in the last 11 months, we expect the app to grow exponentially as well. It's a ton of fun. I use it every single day when I got a bathroom break. I'm in there mock drafting. I'm in there. She's like, you're in there a half hour, but I'm drafting a Dynasty. Babe, leave me in peace.
Half hour? You could draft 3 or 4 Dynasties in that time.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I go back. I like to go from, hey, what if I get the 2 pick? What if I had the 3 pick? What if the 9 pick? What if the 11, 12 pick? How do I attack these drafts? And the app itself will generate ADP, so it will always be changing how you are using it.
I think that's the biggest part about all of this is it's going to feed itself better information. So the ADP, the experience of drafting will only get better and better with more uses and more people doing it. And that by far is what I think is the best about this.
It's going to be very helpful information because it's going to give you up to the minute, essentially, the view of a player. Where are they going in drafts? And as we incorporate this with a new tool we have coming where it's going to show every league, every trade, and my fantasy league for a player as well, we'll be able to incorporate all this data and give you an exact value of a Dynasty player. And again, when you're trying to make a trade, the more information that you have, to me, it's the more ammo you have. It's almost like you're a pirate gun trying to shoot down ships, Garrett.
And the more accurate information, the up to minute stuff. A guy gets injured and you didn't catch it, but a not so nice person that you're in the league with is trying to shell him off on you real quick before you've caught up to the news. Something like that. If the ADP is getting it's getting updated hourly, you're going to see a pretty drastic drop or some sort of drop that will indicate, hey, what's going on? And maybe it'll give you that extra little bit of information or a little bit of time to dig in before you accept a trade that looked good 2 hours ago before the guy's ACL got blown out, but maybe it looks a lot different now.
And again, this is information. We always talk about Dynasty's information you use when you make a trades, whether it be you want to reinforce why this trade is a fair trade with data behind you, Or if you could use the app and see the ADP of a player skyrocketing, and in your league, you can get them for much cheaper than you might even know what's going on, but the community as a whole is reacting, and you can react it for a lesser price than some. So it's not just about being ahead of the curve. It's that news, that instant news, the more information you have. Robert Tonyan is making the team. Oh, Robert Tonyan's rumored to be the starting tight end over Jay Sternberger. We all thought it was in Sternberger. Where's Robert Tonyan in my Dynasty League? Holy shnikes. He's on the waiver wire. Let me pick him up. His ADP is rising. Why is he rising? He's on my waiver wire. Let me pick him up. So it's not even stars. It's guys like that you might see go in a mock draft. And you're like, wait, well, who is that? Who has him in my league, right? Oh, wow, he's on the waiver wire. Oh, I can get him for pennies on a dollar. So before we get into our draft, again, PPR, 12 teams, 20 rounds. We're going to go. We're going to talk it out, see what kind of team we have. Let us know. Let us know on Twitter, all our Twitter handles. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment, like it. Let us know what you thought we messed up, where you would have went. We'll talk this out. And again, with this mock draft tool, you can pause the draft. You can go back a pick, like any standard mock draft.
And that's really what we're going to be doing. We're going to be pausing in the middle. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to make a discussion, and then we're going to make a pick. And then we're going to see what the AI, the computer picks in between our picks. I'm sure we're going to get sniped quite a few times.
Oh, absolutely.
I've been sniped so many times just sitting there, messing around with this thing.
Dang it, I thought you'd come back to me.
Exactly.
Like a real draft.
Exactly.
You constantly get sniped. So before we get into all this and our strategy going into it, let's talk about our friends at DynastyDepot.com. Right now, you can get Dynasty Depot, the entire year package, for a massive discount by using that promo code NERDS. You get it for $14.99 a year. And you're like, Rich, $14.99 a year? I could buy 3 Chick-fil-A sandwiches for that price. What should I do? Why should I eat these 3 Chick-fil-A sandwiches and go to DynastyDepot.com? Well, it's because DynastyDepot.com gets to expand your Dynasty game and put some money in your pocket, where you can buy. What is DynastyDepot.com? It's a FFC platform-based Dynasty League. And this is basically eBay for Dynasty. It gives you the option to go on there and buy and sell Dynasty teams. There might be a person in a $1,000 entry league that just wants to get out, right? And they don't want to lose all their money, so they'll sell it to you for $400. And you might like that team, and you might like his draft capital. Maybe this guy has 23 firsts, and you're like, wow, I'm going to take a $500 discount at first. I could win this league in 4 years and win $7,000. And I'm going to buy it for $5,000. $500, what a deal. Or maybe you are really good at drafting Dynasty startups, and you can draft a really good team and get a really good foundation, and the buy-in's $100. You buy in for $100, you draft this team, boom, you sell it on Dynasty Depot for $500. You won money by just drafting. And how do you perfect your drafting? Using the mock draft tool on DynastyNerds.com or the draft app.
Look at that.
Put yourself in a position to dominate. Use this to make money. See how the trends are going and how you can get a really good team. This gives you a position to flip Dynasty teams for profit. Also gives you a good chance to win prizes. You're in line to play in the FFPC championship. If somebody's going to win that by drafting teams, it doesn't matter what the buy-in. It's just about points. And that's a $500,000 grand prize. All this at DynastyDepot.com. I encourage you. You don't need any money to do anything at first. Just go on there, see if there's some teams that you like that you either buy or sell. Use that promo code NERDS and get in DynastyDepot.com today. So, Dynasty Startup Mock Draft.
Yep.
Now, before you hit start on the app, Garrett, we're going to pick from the 6th spot. I want to talk to you guys first. Now, say today, which is today, not yesterday.
Not yesterday.
And you have a startup draft in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Which is what we have.
Time to cram.
All right.
So on the show, we like to say we build around young receivers, especially in 1QB PPR leagues. Now, I've switched my Dynasty philosophy slightly where, like, I was vehemently opposed to, like, taking a running back in the first round. Like, I just wouldn't do it. Like, I want the young receiver at the times, which is the dominant part of the class. Now I feel like we're pretty top heavy with the 3 down good running backs, and they go so quick. Like, I'm more open to taking that running back, depending on how the board falls to me. Right. Or even the second round where I'd go 1-2, usually wide receiver. I'm more open to taking that running back, which also helps for me now is that there's an abundance of young, talented receivers as well. I know I can get Terry McLaurin a little later. I can get DJ Moore at a value. And some of these guys that have fallen down that I still believe in, guys like Odell Beckham Jr., that I might be able to get and put some good gambles on as well.
And even this rookie class, like you're going to be able to get a lot of the guys in this rookie class
Correct.
pretty late because they haven't proven themselves yet, but they could be amazing in 2 or 3 years.
And there's always that slight dip of a guy like Jerry Jeudy, who's primed for that second-year breakout, who had a very solid last year, almost 800 yards receiving last year on a really crazy year for the Denver Broncos, who I expect to take a big step forward this year. So for me, I'm just saying right now, I'm open to that. Obviously, we'll all have to agree on the pick. It'll be majority rules here. Matt, what are you thinking going into the startup? Like,
and this is just a 1QB PPR vanilla league to start.
Because early's our core, right? Like, can we all agree though? Like early, when you go on the core, like we're looking at 27 and under for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
100%. Yeah. So it automatically lends itself, I think, especially in the past, was get the wide receivers that are the long-term assets, like you had mentioned. But nowadays, I think there are some guys that you kind of can spread out and go ahead and attack early on in drafts. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, for instance, he produced pretty well last year. He's young enough that I think he's a cornerstone type of guy at the running back position. You're never going to go a guy that's 3 years in the league. I'd be cherry picking out of last year's draft, out of the guys that I really, really like. I'd maybe go another year, into the past. Sophomore type of guys, or the third year. They're going into their second year or third year now. So,
Sure.
But I wouldn't go much farther with that with the running backs.
The other thing for me is the first 3 to 4 rounds, I play it pretty conservative. Like those players have to hit. I'm not willing to take a lot of big risks. Later on, I'll take all the risks in the world. But those first few rounds, I have to make sure that I'm at least getting a solid player.
They got to be starters. They got to be long-term starters. Right. They are your cornerstones, and that's how you have to build it for long-term success. I mean, you could go the route and just totally load up on veterans and stuff like that and probably win in year one. You're going to be in shambles for 3 or 4 years after that, but it's a route to go. You can do that, but it's not the way that I like to do my startup draft.
And just a heads up, I will fight for the tight end. I do want to. I'm just gonna say I want to come out like my ending point. Like this is Dallas Goedert, right? Like that's my okay.
We got to get one
missed
before
out.
him.
Like I usually try to target because I feel like I could draft good enough around that pick to take a tight end high enough. So here in a startup, for me, Travis Kelce's out, right? It's gonna go too high, whatever.
Right.
Like I'm really looking to get in this draft particularly. Like I'm okay. I want T.J. Hawkinson or I want Kyle Pitts. I'll take Mark Andrews. I'm okay with that. Darren Waller's going to go a little bit too higher for me just because of his age and other positions that will be available, a la running back and receiver. So to me, when Waller and Kelce are off the board, that's
what about Kittle?
And Kittle, yeah. Well, obviously Kittle's my tight end.
Well, no, I wasn't sure. Would you take Kittle?
I would take Kittle, but depends who's there. But I usually I'm willing to settle, let Kittle go, and end up with Hawkinson to offset the other play I would get. But it depends how the board falls. We have no idea how this board's going to fall to us. You never know in a startup. It's good to have an outline, but you always have to be open in these startup drafts because let the board come to you. Like the Scott Fishbowl, for example, right? I had the 10th pick. Literally yesterday morning in my car, I'm driving like, man, I kind of wish I would just told Scott on the number 2 pick because I really want Josh Allen.
I can't believe what happened to you.
And then come to the 10th pick, Josh Allen's on the board and Kyler Murray. I'm like, what a decision to make.
Right.
If our mock draft tool is, people are like, that tool sucks. It's broken. So I was like, you know what? I'm taking Josh Allen. I love that Kyler Murray. He was like top 4 scorer last year. Josh Allen was the number 2 overall scorer in the format last year. I was like, whatever. And I was like, when it comes back, I'm getting Darren Waller or I'm getting like a Jonathan Taylor, either way. Board goes back around, comes back. Guess who's there? Kyler Murray. I'm probably the only team
Probably.
in Scott Fishbowl that has Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. There's 2,000 people in there. So you never know how the board will play to you. So with that in mind, Garrett,
Let's start it.
hit the start button. Let's see how this works out. I'm guessing it's going to be Christian McCaffrey the first off the board. It's just my guess. That's who I would take.
Who knows, though?
Typically, but there's always a little variation, so
There
we'll see.
are variations.
Starting the draft
could be a
here.
Giants fan. Could be
Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Adams, Alvin Kamara, Tyreek Hill. All right.
So pause. Give us a little pause there.
All right, we're pausing it.
We got 30-second clock normally.
30-second clock up at the top.
Obviously, we're going to be pausing this and talking it out.
Right.
You hit that top button and then take it off so you can still look. There you go.
There we go. All right.
So we have 2 receivers, 3 running backs off the board here at 6. No surprise, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, 2 at the top Dynasty go-getters, still 28 years old or younger.
Right.
Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey are the 3 running backs off the board.
Okay.
Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill are 2 receivers.
So let's go first instincts here before we talk about Matt. Who's your first instinct of who you want to grab here?
I mean, those are 3 pretty big running backs that went off the board already. So,
Right.
I mean, instantly, my thought goes to, which guy do I really, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, one of these young, very high
good
upside type of guys. And obviously, A.J. Brown's been in the league, multiple years. So I like Garrett, I know this guy has to hit. And I love Justin Jefferson. We've seen one-year wonders before. I don't think he is one, but there's just that little bit in the back of my head that's probably just a little tiny voice that says, go get A.J. Brown. He's done it more years. And he's going to provide a lot of upside as well. So, that's initially where I am leaning right now. But I wouldn't fight you if you're like, this is the time to get Jonathan Taylor. He's one of these stud running backs. Let's go out and get him. I wouldn't fight you there because there is so much depth at that wide receiver.
It's funny because I'm in the exact same boat, just slightly flipped. Like my instinct is Jonathan Taylor, get that star running back, get that stud. But if we ended up going A.J. Brown, I wouldn't be upset about that because I think he's a stud. So you're gonna have to be the tiebreaker, Rich.
So what running backs are exactly on the board here?
So running backs that would still be available, that'll probably be gone by our next pick. We're looking at Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb. It says Zeke. I don't know that Zeke would be gone, but possibly. Derrick Henry, Swift.
Doesn't matter. Jonathan Taylor's a clear choice here.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. Like the A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson. To me, CeeDee Lamb is in this conversation as well.
Sure.
I like both of those guys. DJ Moore, not so close. I love him a lot, but not so close.
More like third round.
As well.
Yeah.
So to me, I feel comfortable knowing that here at 6, A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson are most likely not going to come back. You can cross your fingers.
Right.
I know Jonathan Taylor's not coming back.
No, he goes.
Exactly. Yep.
And here's the thing, and then I could somewhat settle. It's not even settling. Like I like CeeDee Lamb equal to A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson, honestly, if not more.
And there's a shot he could come back to us.
And I'm willing to play those odds right there because then I can always divert to a different strategy. Who knows what if they're not there? What running back will be there?
Right.
And then we double up
a running back, or we can start our tight end really super early and get the top of the rung there if you really want it.
I think we're pretty consensus here. Like I'm okay at 6 taking Jonathan Taylor, which for me again in 17 years, going on 18 years of playing Dynasty fantasy football. Seriously, I don't ever take running backs in the first. In our initial startup, I took Latavius Tomlinson first overall. That was a startup draft, but that was my very first draft.
Exactly,
ever.
right.
Usually after that, I've always gone the receiver route. For me, this is abnormal, but I love it, and we're going to see how our team plays out. So go ahead and give us Jonathan Taylor here. I'm wondering how soon these other. Obviously, we're going to see Dalvin Cook go off the board here. Yep. Derrick Henry's going to go off the board here. I hope Nick Chubb would fall off the board. Personally, to push that depth down to it. Maybe a George Kittle, Darren Waller to push some of these guys down because I'm really looking. This is where now that we took a receiver, for me personally, there's no way I can let a young receiver or running back go by.
Right. We went running back now. I feel like we're good at that position probably for a couple of rounds unless somebody amazing slips to us, and now we can go out and get some wide receivers or tight ends here.
And why I would say, I'll let you guys speak on this too, is why I'm okay with now hammering the other youth at the receiving positions, and why I like starting this young running back is because, remember, the running back position is the most easiest position to fill on your roster via rookie drafts. It's a plug-and-play move. So I'm immediately, for my thought process here, is okay, unless another good running back falls, I got to grab a second one, but I'm waiting until values are there.
Yeah.
I'm okay with later in this draft thinking, okay, I'm going to get a Myles Gaskin, I'm going to get a Mike Davis, I'm going to get somewhere along those lines, worst
one-year
case,
fill-in.
That's my number 2. And then that PPR guy. I want to get another good young running back if I can, but remember, they're all a fluid. After you get past the first 2 rounds, all these guys are hashtag 2 to 3 year windows, right? You're only getting 3 years most out of them.
I think I know what you mean when you said they're the easiest to fill via the draft, but I think that kind of came across odd. They're not. I mean, they're hard to find. But they are plug and play players. I think that's what you were trying to say. Like a running back is a guy you
can start as a rookie.
He starts as a rookie, and he can produce from you right away. I mean, they're not easy to find because obviously it's just. There's a scarcity at the position, but it is a plug and play position.
And we can easily draft well here and give ourselves draft capital. Because sometimes I will draft, again, I draft best player available for the depth to give me trade value. Like I'm okay with having 7 stud receivers because I will trade one of those stud receivers for a higher draft slot that I took them for a running back or a future first round pick next year. These are, again, the better players you have, the more draft capital you have. Say I win the league year 1 at the 12th pick. Well, now if I offer you, say I drafted Mike Williams, and Mike Williams has a wide receiver 1 year or a high-end wide receiver 2 year.
Hallelujah.
Now I can package 12 in Mike Williams and move up to the top 3, possibly top 4 to draft that rookie running back that I do need. So we're on the board. Who went after our pick?
All right, so if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see all of these picks right now. But after Jonathan Taylor at 1-6, we had Dalvin Cook go at 1-7, Nick Chubb at 1-8, Justin Jefferson at 1-9.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know. DeAndre Hopkins at 110. George Kittle at 111, so the first tight end off the board. A.J. Brown at 112, so both the receivers we're looking at didn't make it out of the first round.
We figured.
Yeah. Zeke went at 2-1. Chris Godwin went at 2-2. Derrick Henry went at 2-3. Stephon Diggs went at 2-4. DeAndre Swift at 2-5. And Michael Thomas at 2-6. So that puts us on the clock at 2-7.
Gary, your instant reaction here, what you're looking at. I mean, you can see the board in front of you.
Yeah.
Who are you feeling? We have Kyle Pitts on the board. We have
CeeDee Lamb.
We have some really good running backs. I already made my case. Like I'm went into this thinking CeeDee Lamb. So I don't know what you guys are thinking, but that's my initial reaction.
I mean, at this point, he's got to be the highest rated young player.
Well, there's 3 really good receivers.
Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf are on the board too.
DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley. All 3 of these guys, I would be fine walking away with any one of these 3. I think they're all fairly young in their career. They've all proved that, well, DK and Calvin more so than CeeDee Lamb, but the writing's on the wall for CeeDee. He looked very good with terrible quarterback play last year.
It was a wide receiver 11 overall. His first games in with Dak Prescott was a high level. DK finished as wide receiver 4 overall last year.
Right.
I would take both those guys ahead of DK Metcalf. That's just me personally. I look at those guys as better long-term plays over DK than that's just me personally.
So just to inform everyone, if we decided to go a different position, here's some of the other guys that are on the board. Miles Sanders, J.K. Dobbins, Joe Mixon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back. So 4 solid running backs. I personally still like the upside of the receivers there a little bit better.
Me too.
Than those running backs. Top tight end on the board. Let me clear out these other spots here. Travis Kelce still on the board. Darren Waller.
All of them,
Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, T.J. Hawkinson. So, yeah.
So again, we obviously can wait on tight end.
Yeah, I feel like a wait on the tight end, maybe another round, and we still can get a high end, one of the high end guys. Me personally, it's CeeDee Lamb. That's who I have. I think ranked as the highest guy. I think he has the highest upside of those guys as well. I think he could potentially be the wide receiver 1 down the line. Where these other guys, I think they'll be wide receiver 1s, but I don't think they quite have that ceiling.
There's a path for. You're right. There's a path for CeeDee Lamb to be DeAndre Hopkins.
Right.
That wide receiver 1-1 overall in a startup. And I'm telling you, a name that you mentioned that really intrigues me here too. I wouldn't take him here, but this is the guy I'm hoping comes back to us where I would get off that route of what we just talked about is Clyde Edwards-Helaire Jr.
That piqued my interest big time.
So because I'm thinking
Clyde Edwards-Helaire Jr. Is he a junior?
No, he's not.
Okay.
But his son piqued
want
our interest.
Deep Debbie.
I talked to him so much last year before the thing. I feel like I'm his father. I changed my name to Clyde. But I'm hoping like he's the one where I'd veer off that path of young receivers or tight end if he's there when he comes back to us. And I know there's a chance he could come back to us.
Well, we'll see who else is there because he's in the conversation. He piqued my interest also.
So do you like CeeDee Lamb here too?
I have no problem. I would have no problem with any one of those 3 receivers. I think they're all studs, and I think they're all going to have bright futures. So I'm not going to argue any of them.
We take the guy here who some people are like, oh, how do you take CeeDee Lamb
over Calvin Ridley?
People be watching this video and listen like, how do you take them over those 2? And that's fine that you feel that way, but for us, we feel differently. In 12 months from now, you may be right, but like I said, we may be right as well. Of course,
we might be right 3 years down the road. You know what I mean? Like it's a long-term thing, and this is a fun exercise. Is what we're boiling
I feel
this
like
down
CeeDee's at worst case a wide receiver too. So like I feel like we have 2 guys that are 22 years old or younger, essentially. But one could be a running back 1 was running back 1 last year, and one could be a wide receiver 1. So we're hitting stars like our initial plan right out the gate, which is what you should do. And we're really, really young. So let's take CeeDee Lamb here.
All right.
And this is where, for me, Matt, like I'm like wide open. Like, let's see. I have 12 picks to go ahead of me. I'm not like I hope Clyde Edwards-Helaire's there. I hope DK Metcalf or Calvin Ridley could somehow slide back. What other receivers will be like a guy like Terry McLaurin will be very interested in there. If there's a running back there, Kyle Pitts is a very interesting target. TJ Hawkinson, I said, is an interesting guy there as well. So I'm intrigued to see who's going to be here available for us.
All right. So right after us at 2-7, DK and Calvin Ridley both went
Bing,
with
bang.
the next two picks.
Which, as it should be.
Right.
This mock draft was so accurate.
Miles Sanders, J.K. Dobbins, and Joe Mixon round out the second round. With the first pick of the third round, Clyde Edwards-Helaire went. Then we had our first quarterback off the board with Patrick Mahomes.
I was wondering when they were going to start popping off the board.
He would have been interesting to me at 3-6. Had he still
as
been
well. I didn't say it, but that was the one quarterback I would kind of take a look at that early in the draft.
I still stand very pat, and as much as I love Pat Mahomes, I can't take it that high. I can't pass up on that skill position player. One, we're in a 1QB league.
Right,
It's
totally.
easy. I'm okay with streaming guys like Tom Brady who can win you championships. And two, like, yeah, I miss out on a young Pat Mahomes, but I still have a young Josh Allen. I still have a young Justin Herbert.
Sure.
I still have a young Trevor Lawrence there.
100%.
Option. So I'm just saying,
difference makers win you championships, and
He's a difference
he
maker.
is a difference maker.
If he's there, I would listen to it. It wouldn't surprise me if a guy like Pat Mahomes went in the first round, back in the first round, second round. You never know how it's going to fall. So,
Sure.
So what are we looking at top players on the board here?
After Mahomes, we had DJ Moore, Najee Harris, so the first rookie off the board, and then Terry McLaurin, which broke my heart a little bit because Terry McLaurin was the one I wanted there.
DJ Moore and Terry are two guys that are like really high on my list for third round targets.
Yep.
So give me obviously all the tight ends are still available that we mentioned before. So we're not going tight end here yet either because we don't need to. There's been no run on it. There's a couple guys that I still like. I mean, I don't know how you guys like. I'm okay with getting Hawkinson, Andrew, Pitts, right? Like, those are my guys. Somehow Waller fell to me. I can make it work and then take Goddard behind them. But let's contrast running back and receiver. Are we willing to grab another running back this early, or do we go with our plan of another young stud receiver?
All right, well, here's the guys available.
Let's hear it.
So I'll give you the top 5 receivers available right now according to the app. Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Allen Robinson, Jamar Chase. So those are the top 3 or the top 5 according to this. Top 5 running backs: Aaron Jones, Javonte Williams, Austin Eckler, Josh Jacobs, Antonio Gibson. So those are the top 5 running backs.
So I feel like we're in a weird spot here with either one of these spots.
This is a trade down spot.
This is could we trade down, or this might be the spot where we end up taking the tight end and we kind of just overdraft him, even though we know that one will be available a couple rounds later. I still feel pretty good going that route now because you're getting your pick of the litter then. At that position, where I feel like the wide receiver position, there's no one jumping out at me right now at this slot that I need to have. I feel like that I can get a guy very similar around later. How do you guys feel about that?
I feel there's another guy that's going to be coming up here down later, like Robert Woods. I know he's a heavy target for me right around round 6, right? So I know that's there. I really like the idea of Antonio Gibson being so young and looking so good last year.
There were 2 names that kind of stuck out to me a little bit. He was one of them.
I must have missed it because that would have stuck out to me as well. Maybe I zoned out for a second and looked at my list.
And the tight ends are still there too. But there's another name here that really rings out to me is Keenan Allen.
Okay.
Keenan Allen's still only 28 years old.
I think he's turning 29.
Is he turning 29?
Yep. He can't be 28 forever because I feel like he's been 28 for like the past 3 years, man.
His hairline's definitely beyond 28.
He's interesting to me. Allen Robinson's
Allen
interesting
Robinson
to me at
was the other
27.
name for me.
With definitely Justin Fields getting there, they'll most likely have a report. He's going to sign a long-term deal there, so we'll get 4 years most likely out of a guy like Allen Robinson.
And obviously, Amari Cooper would be a interesting player had we not already had CeeDee Lamb. So I just want to at least say that because that was the guy that he's the highest rated guy I think for us right now. But he plays with the same team we already have the wide receiver for.
Yeah, that really caps your upside.
Yep.
So we mentioned a couple of names here, and can you give me a couple more of those? What are the top running backs again?
We'll go through the running backs again. Aaron Jones, Javonte Williams, Austin Eckler, Josh Jacobs. I'll even go down a little bit. Antonio Gibson, Travis Etienne, Cam Akers.
And obviously, we all like Devontae Smith. Jamar Chase is here.
And I would say this. I think this a lot has to do with our rankings as nerds overall. We're down a little bit on Akers. Akers probably would have gone with some other drafts right now, potentially.
Akers would have been off the board most likely.
Yeah.
We probably would have got Terry McLaurin here. But dang it. But you never know. And I would not take Akers here. There's absolutely no way. So for me, it's either Antonio Gibson.
But that's the cool part about how this will adjust because all of the ADP is going to be feeded into this.
Yeah,
and so
it's going to
it'll change. It'll change.
Yeah, Akers going to be going like 11th overall pretty soon. It's going to be gross. Again, it's not that we don't like Akers. We just don't like where he's going. Like this is fine talk here for Akers. Like in the third round of a startup, I'm okay with this. Like Akers is here, but still, I would rather have Antonio Gibson. So do we attack running back and not worry about it? Do we go Allen Robinson and get a young stud receiver who consistently produces year in, year out? Last year with very bad quarterback play, he was wide receiver number 9 overall. So we're getting another wide receiver 1, a little bit older than Sealand, offset.
Here's what I'll say about the running back position, though. After Akers, it does start to fall off a little bit. Then you're starting to look at Kareem Hunt, David Montgomery, Chris Carson, James Robinson. Like those are the next 4 after Antonio Gibson. So if you want to make sure you have a solid second running back, you're probably going to have to get 2 in the top 3 rounds.
I got my guy.
Yeah, let's do it.
I want Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, let's go Gibson.
All right,
I'm good
Antonio
with
Gibson.
Let's see how that flushes out
Now,
with the wide
we
receivers.
said before we don't want to take risk in the top 3 picks. So we're taking a risk here. We're taking a running back. We're taking a young, but we're taking a guy that we thought looked really good last year, who only had limited carries coming out of college, about 33 carries at running back, and averaged over 4.5 yards per carry his rookie year. And they're already talking about they want to throw him the ball more and get him more involved with the receiving game. So I'm willing to risk it for the biscuit here. Definitely with the amount of receivers that are still there, I'm intrigued what's going to come back to us. And if we don't like that, we can attack our tight end and then go heavy receiver from this point over.
I'm totally fine with this pick. That would be my second selection. But with what I said earlier, I usually tend to play it safe. Allen Robinson would probably have been my pick had it just been me. But I'm totally fine going.
And I'd be okay. I would be okay with that.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. But we'll go Gibson for now. And then we're going to see how that looks.
So we don't need a whole list of everybody going here now. So obviously the board's going to come along here. You know, it could have went again. This is a franchise changing decision. We went to Gibson. If it fails, we could have had Allen Robinson. So we are taking a risk. And I would have not have been opposed with Allen Robinson. But this is what I talk about changing my strategy is we have way more younger running backs, but it goes so much higher too. Like that running back chart looks absolutely horrendous.
It's going to look like dog duty.
Yeah. And then we're taking then we're gonna what do we do at running back? We do at running back. Now that we have our 2 young running backs, we can just let these receivers follow us. And I guarantee by the time we get to round 9, there are still gonna be looking at receivers that we like.
Yeah, and once the tight end run starts, hopefully we get to jump in on that before it's gone.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. So the guys that just went: Aaron Jones, Mike Evans, Allen Robinson just went. Austin Eckler, Amari Cooper, Jamar Chase, Keenan Allen, DJ Chark, Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne, Kenny Golladay, Josh Jacobs. So none of the tight ends have gone. Now, if we're looking at our big board here, basically all of them are here in a group.
Tight ends. Yeah.
Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts are 4 of the next 6 recommended players.
I would take Kyle Pitts here. That's my initial reaction. I'm getting somebody, again, who I think is going to be the next Travis Kelce, who's going to be a stud difference maker. You mentioned Pat Mahomes, a difference maker at his position, difference maker overall. And I think grabbing our tight end here now lets us take a step back, not worry about tight end whatsoever, let the value come to us like a Dallas Goedert, and find some guys where even if Kyle Pitts needs a year or two, even offset him, right? Like a guy like Robert Tonyan, a guy like Dallas Goedert, and we can fix the tight end. Drafting Kyle Pitts here, I would like to back him up. But again, we're getting somebody who's potentially, we got our young running back. Mm-hmm. We got 2 young running backs that were running back 1s last year. We got our young stud receiver. Why not pair him with a young stud tight end who honestly, where most tight ends take a long while to produce, could have that Rob Gronkowski effect and literally come out the gates and produce because getting rid of Julio, they're going to throw him the ball a ton as well.
They are. I don't know that would be the move that I would make here, but I can understand it.
Yep.
I think I would be. Can you read off the top wide receivers that we have? I'm curious.
So the top wide receivers that are currently available: Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Devonta Smith, Robert Woods.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this knowing he mentioned like a guy like Odell Beckham's still on the board.
Sure.
And then my approach here with CD would be like, okay, if we get the tight end, we can attack with Robert Woods, Odell Beckham, a guy like that. And then there'll be guys coming off this board later that we will be able to get that we like Michael Pittman, Brian Edwards, Curtis Samuel. There'll be those younger guys as well to offset. Because there's no receiver there that jumps off the board that I would rather have.
That's what I wanted to hear. That's what I wanted to hear if there were any guys that were really jumping. Are there anybody jumping on for you? Because
my slight caution is I'm still in the range here where I don't want to miss.
Right.
That's the scary part for me. And that's why I didn't even bring up Javonte Williams, even though I love Javonte.
I know.
I wanted to make sure earlier that I got Antonio Gibson because I've seen more. I've seen more from Allen Robinson.
Right.
That's what scares me a little bit about Kyle Pitts here. I would lean a little bit more toward either Hawkinson or Waller personally. I won't fight you guys on Kyle Pitts, but that would definitely not be
Waller. I mean, the reason would be leaning away from Waller is the age. I mean, that's all it is.
29.
He's 29 years old, and obviously same thing with Travis Kelce.
He's 31. Yeah.
Right. So it's.
I wouldn't hate Hawkinson. I really wouldn't. But again, I like Hawkinson a ton. I think he's a top 5 tight end forever. But the reason I'm okay with Pitts is because we scouted him. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a guy who he's an outlier. It'd be like not taking Trevor Lawrence high in a super flex league because we haven't seen. You know what I mean? It's like the same reason there. Like I'm willing to take him here. No, but knowing that I'm taking, I don't agree with you. Then I'm gonna back him up. This is like like you said, I'll take a risk. It's a 4th round risk. But at a position I know I'll get some guys that I like.
Okay.
And definitely down the road, like there'll be some other risk we take to back him up. Guys like Adam Troutman. We know we like Cole Kmet. He'll probably be there later.
I would love to get Cole.
And I like Hawkinson a ton, but I feel like we're also playing safe. I like him so much. If it came back to me, I would still even consider possibly taking Hawkinson, having the 2 tight ends, one, a great trade bait, and then I have that to offset if I needed to. But my vote would be Pitts. I don't know what your vote is here.
I think I can be talked into Pitts enough that we should go that route and see who falls.
Who would be your other option if you were to?
Who were the wide receivers again? It was
Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Devonta Smith, Robert Woods.
Yeah, I mean, like Cortland Sutton would be looking pretty tasty right now. Devonta Smith, obviously, he's young and unproven, but a high upside guy in my opinion as well.
Mm-hmm. All risk guys.
But all risk guys. Yeah. So that's why at this point I'm okay with the
generational talent that we call.
Yep.
All right, so Kyle Pitts.
Let's do it.
Vote.
Let's do it. See how this works out, man.
All right.
Because again, we have a really young, optimistic core.
We have to start attacking the wide receivers. That's the thing. And you never know how these drafts are going to fall. So I mean, all the tight ends can come off the board. Now that we started taking them, they might all just start dropping right off the board.
All right. So right after Kyle Pitts, Travis Kelce went, Cam Akers, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, Devonta Smith, Tyler Lockett, Cortland Sutton, and then our second quarterback off the board in Kyler Murray.
Ooh.
Again, totally okay with that. Let those quarterbacks keep going. I have no problem. Justin Herbert's still there. Josh Allen's still there.
Yep.
Trevor Lawrence is still there. I still feel very comfortable with that. As long as I feel comfortable with quarterback, I'm not worried about quarterback.
I usually, even in Dynasty, in 1QB, I tend to be one of the last guys to take it. Unless I'm playing with a bunch of guys that are hardcore that way as well. Then all of a sudden Pat Mahomes is in the 5th and you're like, yeah, I'm going to take Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, of course.
That kind of stuff happens.
Right.
What round are we in?
We are in the 5th round right now.
And
currently.
what receivers are available?
So that is kind of the core of what is still available. Robert Woods, Jerry Jeudy, Juju Smith-Schuster, Odell Beckham, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Waddle, Julio Jones are the main guys still available at the wide receiver position. TJ Hawkinson made it back. So TJ Hawkinson is still there as well. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, the main quarterbacks. There are a few running backs, but it's Kareem Hunt, David Montgomery, Chris Carson.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. I do like Hawkinson here too. I'm going to say this is my pick. I do like the idea of Hawkinson here. It backs up our Kyle Pitts stake, right? Mm-hmm. It put us in the position to have 2 very talented tight ends. It would give us, if Pitts pans out and Hawkinson pans out, it gives us tremendous trade value. We talked about getting a running back down the road. That'd be a key piece, again, to moving from pick 12, our championship pick, to pick 3, with that tight end, if it's Pitts or Hawkinson. At the same time, I don't want to start straying too far from receiver. We only have CeeDee Lamb. That worries me as well.
I was going to, you were starting to go down the path where you were going to try to sell me on the tight end position. And in my brain, I was going, no, we can't do a tight end again. We can't do a tight end again.
Let's talk receivers here.
Well, here's one
2
thing
that
I
really like.
We've kind of started a trend in this draft. And this is kind of when we talk about how the draft falls to you. So far, look at our team. We've taken Kyle Pitts. We've taken Antonio Gibson. We've taken CeeDee Lamb. and we've taken Jonathan Taylor. All of those guys are under 24, 25. We have a very young team.
Yep.
At this point, I would say, okay, could I win this year? Potentially, but I know that I'm really built specifically for 2022, 2023.
So I don't think necessarily. I think the guys that we have are
good.
This is how I do my dynasty leagues. I like to get guys that are young, but also guys that can contribute now.
For sure.
People are like, you're still in the future. See, I disagree. I think 2021, those.
But you didn't even let me finish. You don't even know if you disagree.
I never do. These are the guys. I think these
Leave
guys
a
are
comment.
like help now. Don't let me know.
But what I'm saying is, at this point, I don't know that I would want to go after strong veteran players because I don't know that would benefit us as much as trying to go strong with the youth movement that we've already started.
See, this youth movement was by design, but I wasn't getting young. Just like I'm drafting this guy because he's just young. I'm drafting because I think he's really good.
For sure.
I think it's to be good right now. Because I'm not drafting a guy because I think he's going to be good in the future. I wouldn't draft those guys early on. I'm drafting guys I think will be good now. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be a wide receiver 1 in the year 2021. I think Jonathan Taylor's going to be a running back 1. I think Antonio Gibson's going to flirt with running back 1, right? So even though we're super young, I disagree because Robert Woods here, to me, is very intriguing. Jerry Jeudy, to me, is very intriguing.
Both of those guys were very intriguing.
Robert Woods is a safe pick for us right here. Potentially a wide receiver 1, top 15 for sure. Jerry Jeudy, a prospect that we absolutely love, had a really good year last year. Probably not going to come back to us after this round.
Right. So let's. I think me and you both like both of those players.
There is one guy that has not been mentioned yet. He's slightly lower on the chart, but I do think he's a name worth bringing up because he would both fit our style and a guy that I think we all like to some extent. That is, could help us win now as well, and that's Brandon Ayuk.
That was a guy you mentioned, Deebo Samuel, and I was wondering where Brandon Ayuk was.
He's like 2 spots behind him.
Okay, all right.
So I like Ayuk too. I like both those other guys more, and the reason is because most of Ayuk's production came down. Even though he looked good doing it, it was Deebo was out and Kittle was out. So to me, that's a risk factor on a young guy that has going to have George Kittle coming back. He has Deebo Samuel coming back. They added to the run game. We have a different quarterback situation possibly coming here. So the only reason I would be out on Ayuk here is because if I
could say a lot of the same thing is about Robert Woods, by the way, new quarterback, a lot of mouths to feed. You know what I mean? A lot of the same stuff.
Not a lot of mouths, but yeah. I don't know. That's to me.
Cooper Kupp,
I would
Van
say I don't
Jefferson,
know, but I don't know that there's any more
Cam
pass
Akers.
catchers than were there last year. It's the same pass catchers.
Yeah, it's the same.
I would
sure.
for me.
Tutu Atwell.
I don't mind.
Sorry, I take it back.
I don't mind the name. I like Ayuk a lot. I do. I think I feel like I missed on him during his rookie process, but last year he showed me a lot. But to me, I couldn't. If you guys outvoted me here, that it is what it is. But there's no way I would take Ayuk here.
I think it's a bit early for Ayuk. I think he could possibly be one of these guys that's there on the way back. I'll cross my fingers on that one personally and hope that he comes back, and I'll feel better about it next round. You know what I mean?
I love Robert Woods, tons of Robert Woods shares, but this is a player that I would rather trade for Robert Woods partway through the season when CeeDee Lamb has proved to me that he's a wide receiver 1 this season, when Kyle Pitts has proved to me he's a tight end 1 this season, as opposed to assuming that now.
So, all right, if me and Rich are both Robert Woods or Jerry Jeudy, you're going to go Jeudy. Can you be the tiebreaker and go Jeudy, or you don't want Jeudy?
I'm fine with Jeudy. I'm not a huge Jeudy guy either. So if we want to go Woods, we can go Woods, but if I had to pick just between the two, I would go Jeudy based on our team.
I would lean towards. Here's why I would lean towards Jeudy here. I would hope that Robert Woods would come back, and that's one of those veteran receivers we have. That's like, okay, so my first 2 receivers, my 1-2 that I pick, are 2 very young guys in Jeudy and Lamb. I believe in Lamb more than I believe in Jeudy right now. Mm-hmm. And then it comes back, Robert Woods is my 28-year-old that I know is going to be good. So he's really my wide receiver 2 if I drafted my wide receiver 3. And I still know I have work to do at the receiver position because I don't have to do anything at tight end early, and I don't have to worry about running back because of what we did already early. So I would be okay with going Jeudy and see what veteran comes back to me or another guy.
There's another guy that I'm surprised to see. I'm just kind of scrolling through here. There's a receiver that I'm surprised is this low on the chart. And it's tough because I feel Jekyll and Hyde about him, but the upside is absurd, and that's Deontay Johnson is still on the board as well. That's somebody that we could come back and get based on how things look right now.
That's a really good prospect too.
Yeah, I think that's a guy I don't feel like you take him here ahead of some of these other guys. But if he does come back to us, I think it's a discussion.
He's in the discussion.
We have a discussion, about that next round.
He's our third receiver. It's a good guy to go high upside. Like, we're not looking for, like, okay, here's a guy who's solid 28. Like,
No,
that'd be our Robert Woods or Jerry, obviously Jerry Jeudy's upside. So
I think Jerry Jeudy's the pick here, and we see who circles back around.
Jeudy it is.
Because then we go safe guy and a guy like Robert Woods if he's there, and then after that we were starting. Hey, Deontay Johnson possibly there. Is a guy like Deebo Samuel who's an upside guy there with injury history but young.
We start flirting with the quarterbacks at some point.
All right, at 5'7", we had Robert Woods come off right away. Juju Smith-Schuster, T.J. Hawkinson, Odell Beckham Jr., Kareem Hunt, Lamar Jackson, David Montgomery, Chris Carson, Deebo Samuel, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott. So back-to-back quarterbacks there. And then Chase Claypool.
That was a total of 3 quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
Or was
three
it
three total?
What running back? What round are we in?
We are in round 6.
Round 6 is always the round I stop, collaborate, and listen, and see what quarterbacks are available.
Yeah.
So I need the list.
Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson. Here, let me clear out everyone else. Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow.
And what receivers are there?
All right. Receivers.
Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert are screaming my names.
All right. Jalen Waddle, Julio Jones, Brandon Ayuk, Rondale Moore, Rashad Bateman, Adam Thielen, Henry Ruggs, Tyler Boyd, Deontay Johnson, Elijah Moore, Michael Pittman Jr.
And then we're going to get Elijah Moore at some point too here. So basically there's Ayuk who we're talking about.
I've been getting him in a ton of drafts, by the way.
I gotta have him. I feel like since we just had a run of quarterbacks right there, it would scare other potential owners after us, and we'd miss out on Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert for sure.
Yep. That's what I'm nervous about as well.
And there's enough younger guys like we mentioned here. Like, I would just get in Brandon Ayuk. I literally would be just as happy getting Elijah Moore. I would have the same feeling, you know what I mean, as some of those guys. And we still come up with some upside receivers here. I think we have a really good core with 2 young receivers, 2 young running backs, and a tight end. I would move here for me personally with who's available, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert available. Some of my top quarterback play, I would take one of those guys.
I mean, that was my thought when we made our last pick. Was when are these quarterbacks going to start dropping? And then 3 of them went immediately. So that's, obviously it's in my brain to think about it right around this spot as well. I don't know that I need to. Who were the wide receivers? I'm sorry. I know that I should.
No, you're good.
We're repeating ourselves.
So the wide receiver, Jalen Waddle, Julio Jones, Brandon Ayuk, the Moores, Rager, Deontay Johnson.
Yeah,
one of them will be there when we come back.
They definitely will, and
they're in a tier for
those guys are all kind of clustered together. Yeah, I agree with that. So which one of those 2 quarterbacks do you like?
I would take Justin Herbert.
I love Justin Herbert. I would have no problem taking him here.
I think Trevor Lawrence is but again, it comes down to I've seen Justin Herbert do it, and I love what I've seen.
Absolutely.
And for me, it would even be close between Lawrence and Burrow if it came down to the 2 of them, honestly.
And the fact that we're probably going to draft Mike Williams, it's going to be a good combo.
You had me at Mike Williams. Sign me up.
So take Justin Herbert.
Go get him.
As that goes through here, let's talk about a couple of our sponsors here in between as we move on to round 7. Of course, this is a little bit longer of a show because we're doing a mock draft.
I'll talk about my friends over at PredictionStrike.com. It is the only app, and I say app, yes, you can use the website, but they have an app as well. It's the only app where you can buy and sell athletes just like you would a stock market. There's guys you really like. There's Deontay Johnson that you really want to take. There's Brandon Ayuk you really want to get. Maybe somebody else really wants Robert Woods instead. But you can get Brandon Ayuk instead, and you can get those shares of those young stud players just like you would in the stock market, buying those penny stocks or maybe already betting on somebody that has a good track record. Best of all, with the promo code Dynasty, you can receive $10 free with your first deposit of $20 or more. That's promo code Dynasty to receive $10 free with your first deposit of $20 or more. That's over at PredictionStrike.com.
And let me tell you about our friends, Reality Sports Online. By now, most of you probably heard of Reality Sports Online, the powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy team like an NFL general manager. But the question is, have you tried it? It's time to go see what all the buzz in the Dynasty community is about. free agency, multi-year contracts, a rookie draft, multi-team trades, franchise tags, contract extensions, first-round rookie options, automated contracts, and salary cap functionality, and so much more. Think that sounds really complicated? Guess what? It is not. The best thing about Reality Sports Online Fantasy Front Office is that it doesn't take any more time than a standard league. It just requires a little more strategy. Think you're among the fantasy elite? Well, this is the platform to test your mettle. Still not sure? You can test out your general manager skills for free in Mock Free Agency Auction. That's right. They have a fantastic mock draft tool. If you like what you see, use the promo code NERDS. That's NERDS to receive a 10% discount on your team or your league today. Fantasy just got real with realitysportsonline.com. Use that promo code NERDS and save some cash. So here we are, round 7.
Yep.
We spent a lot of time to get here, but we knew we would.
Yep.
We'll try and speed things up here a little bit more, not to get a little bit more in depth so we can see what the teams look like, because the first 10 rounds here, we can be a little bit more analyzed on it. And then from round 11 to 20, we'll just kind of go through, we'll make our pick, we'll each give our guy, and we'll see what our team looks like at the end, and we can give a quick discussion on that. So let's try and, we're about probably, 48 minutes here, somewhere around there?
Somewhere
so
right around there.
We'll get it moving. Real quick recap. We have Jonathan Taylor, CeeDee Lamb, Antonio Gibson, Kyle Pitts, Jerry Jeudy, and Justin Herbert thus far. You can see that roster there on YouTube. All right, so let's continue with the draft. I'm not going to read the guys in between anymore. I'm just going to tell you some of the best available, and we'll move from there.
Obviously, if they're not there, they were taken.
Some of the best available wide receivers on the board here: Rondale Moore, Adam Thielen, Henry Ruggs, Tyler Johnson, Tyler Boyd, Deontay Johnson, Jalen Reagor, Elijah Moore, Landry Pittman, guys like that. Running back, it's basically a barren wasteland. There's really no point in talking about it. We just took our quarterback, so we're probably not going to double up there. So it really comes down to, are we taking one of these wide receivers, or do we want to go back to the well at tight end? Guys like Dallas Goedert, Hunter Henry, Irv Smith Jr., Mike Gesicki, and Cole Kmet.
So here, what intrigues about that is there's one guy in that list who's in that second tier for me. That's Dallas Goedert. And it's a big drop-off. So we mentioned having Kyle Pitts. We might want to back him up here. And I mentioned the name Dallas Goedert. I like a lot of those receivers. I think they'll come back to us. I think we'll be good.
Yep.
Like I would love here to take our second tight end before our third receiver, because now we're in a position we just take that going forward. We can just take value at tight end. Guys like upside guys too, because we have two really good tight ends in our eyes, in Pitts and Goddard, and then we'll just scrap guys that we think can offer value down the road. Guys like Adam Troutman, Cole Kmet, as they come to us. So I would vote Goddard here, just so I don't have to worry about and reach for a tight end later.
I feel like we're going to get a real similar wide receiver 12 picks from now. So
I totally agree, and I'm a big fan of best available no matter what.
Yep.
I actually think Dallas Goedert is legitimately the best player on the board.
All the names he mentioned, that's the one that stuck out to me as well.
So Dallas Goedert, it is. Oh, let me hit play first.
So we're going to take Dallas Goedert. So now we have two young running backs. We'll probably be grabbing PPR running backs for bye week fillers and hope our guys stay healthy. We have two young receivers, two tight ends, and our starting quarterback for a while. So we are in a position we know now, best player available, but we're going to really be focusing on the receiver position.
And really, that's what's going to be kind of jumping off the board, I feel like.
That's where the value is going to be. And I feel like if you don't go that way and you go receiver early, you're going to be sitting here late looking at some of these names like, oh, I see. If I want to remember there, I would still have, there's still receivers I have here.
You want to know something hilarious? Not a single receiver went off the board from our last pick to now. So when you said real similar receivers will be available, the exact same receivers are still available.
Refresh my memory if you don't mind.
For me, I mean, it comes down to Deontay Johnson and Elijah Moore. Those are the two guys that stand out, that offer really good upside. And I know Mike Williams is still going to be on the board in every startup, and I personally, and I know you would too, I still believe. I just can't get off the train. I will still want to grab those shares. The fact that we have Justin Herbert helps me. But when it comes down to Deontay Johnson and Elijah Moore, I'm taking the better overall player I scouted throughout the process. I would, Deontay Johnson got a little bit more drops.
Sure.
I love Elijah Moore so much. I don't know if this is a reach or not, but I would have to have him here. If this was like one of those game shows where they have the golden buzzer where you just outrule all the judges, I'm like Elijah Moore. I have
right.
It's true. If he fades out, if he fades off, it's a round I can miss on, But if I'm going for high upside, the guy who offers me the most upside, because Deontay Johnson looks good, but that was Big Ben arm. We don't know the quarterback situation there in 2023.
Right.
We do know the quarterback situation in New York. We don't know how good that's going to be.
I mean, I think we go Elijah Moore here, and then there'll be guys. There'll be guys available. There'll be an Adam Thielen or somebody like that later on in the draft.
Curtis Samuel, Mike Williams.
Sure. It's tough because my heart also wants to go with Elijah Moore, but my head tells me Deontay Johnson should have gone 2 rounds ago. Like, he is a great, great value here.
It's very good value.
And even worst case scenario, I don't draft planning on trading players. I'm taking best available player, and then whatever happens after happens. He's just such a crazy good value. The ceiling is super high with him. We know Juju's probably gone after the season.
Claypool looked really good.
But Ben Roethlisberger is also going to be gone next year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this guy might be.
We don't know if Zach Wilson's that guy either.
I know, but Chase Claypool could pass up Deontay Johnson this year as well. I don't think anybody's. I mean, Corey Davis is pretty good, but I'm just going back off the tape.
Yeah,
I like what Deontay Johnson did last year, but it doesn't excite me the same way that Elijah Moore's upside does. I mean, his hands, even that small sample size we got out of the OTAs, that's what I saw. Like when you hear that and you see it, and that's what you saw on tape.
Look at him in my rankings right now.
That's got him next.
I gotta go flip that around the other way now.
So you would go Deontay Johnson.
I would have picked Deontay Johnson, yes.
And you would go Elijah Moore.
Apparently yesterday when I updated these, I would have gone Deontay Johnson. But today, now that we're talking about it, I would
changed my mind.
Elijah Moore's the way I'd go.
And I feel terrible because I want to let you get your pick in here, but
you're good.
I would have to go Elijah Moore.
All right, Elijah Moore it is.
I would just because he would go next. And I would never when he pans out. I would never forgive myself.
Right.
That's when I would remember he was there.
I picked
Deontay.
Deontay Johnson. What was I thinking? Big Ben retired, and now they've got a scrub.
And all I would take is Deontay Johnson finishes wide receiver 14, and Elijah Moore finishes wide receiver 13. I'm like, see, told you,
idiot. Totally redeemed.
I would have won that game.
All right, bunch of receivers, couple other players went off the board. Trey Lance just went off the board. So we are back on the clock with our 9th round pick at receiver. Michael Pittman Jr. still there. Tyler Boyd, Terrace Marshall, some of the guys like that. Tight end, we've already taken a few, but
I don't even hear the tight end. I really don't. I didn't know. I need to hear a couple running backs. So I just want to offset this because right now, to me, Michael Pittman's screaming to me, "Grab me, grab me!"
So the running back is in a tough spot right now. There have been plenty that have gone, and they've still been garbage for the most part. So right now in the 9th round, we're looking at Leonard Fournette, Kenyon Drake, A.J. Dillon, Mike Davis, James Conner, Alexander Madison, Tariq Cohen, Damian Harris. I don't mind Damian Harris.
Blah.
But yeah.
See, I know it's blah, and I know he's old. But again, there's a name that sticks out to me here.
Is it Mike Davis?
It's Mike Davis.
Obviously. Yep.
One, I like my team that we have built so far. I like it. I think where we're weak at is potentially his receiver, with the depth wise. But I feel this isn't my vote in sure, but what I'll make the case for is Mike Davis here. We get a starter who's going to start this year on a team that will throw the running back to the ball to the running back. Mike Davis looked fantastic last year catching the football out of the backfield. He was producing at a high level in fantasy football. And not that we just need to use Mike Davis. I think if we draft Mike Davis here, this is a really, really good trade option for us going forward.
How far down that running back list was Mike Davis?
If we're talking overall, he's probably about 25 picks down.
Yeah.
That's overall, not just at running back.
I know. I feel like he's a little bit of a reach at this pick.
And for me, it's always best available player. Yeah. I don't think he's the actual best guy. And I think the other part of that could be true as well. If our team's balling out, we're 5-1 to start the year. All right, I'll give a high second for Mike Davis and maybe a little something on top of it.
I agree. It's a little high, but I'm telling you that name starts to I can use him potentially, and if I don't need him come trade deadline, I could trade him for a 23 first. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I think you could, if Mike Davis pans out, he's a low end running back and high end running back too. Come playoff push time, you could trade him for a 23 first.
Sure,
which is crazy value. And that's my mindset in this draft as well. So. What are you thinking, man? I'm leaning. I wouldn't take Mike Davis. Like I said, that wasn't my pick.
Right.
I would actually just take Michael Pittman.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
Michael,
taking Michael Pittman.
It's Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
It's
All right. Done.
It's Mike Williams.
But we're
It's Michael Pittman.
I'm thinking here. These are guys I from the get go that I knew I was probably going to get. Guys are super young that still offer good upside. Michael Pittman could be the wide receiver 1 in Indianapolis. Offers great upside. Mike Williams has been offering upside for 5 years. Guys like Brian Edwards offers really good upside. These are gambles I like to take late in the rounds. Again, you mentioned earlier upside late. And where do I want my upside? The receiver position where I have the most patience.
Brian Edwards
as well.
just went.
Ooh,
Okay,
he was a
fair.
guy. He was a guy. I was like scrolling down this list. I'm like, I think we could probably get him.
It did the opposite of what I did a couple of rounds ago. The screen is just completely yellow right now.
All
These receivers went. Huge wide receiver run.
Hey, give me who's left.
So the best available period, regardless of position, Michael Gallup, Mike Williams, Brandon Cooks, Aaron Rodgers, Leonard Fournette, Robert Tonyan, Robbie Anderson, Darius Slayton, Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield.
Override, get him. Come on, put him on the team. Garrett.
You have to?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, Darius Slayton it is.
We'll see if Mike Davis comes back. Right now that we're like 2 rounds deeper.
Or Baker Mayfield too.
Oh, Bay.
All right, fine.
What's nice if Baker comes back, we have 2 quarterbacks we have to worry about for literally infinity.
Infinity.
I'll be dead when they're done.
Hope not, man.
Me too.
All right, this round so far is much more diverse in which players are coming off the board.
Okay.
A little bit of everything going off the board here. At 11-6.
We're in the 11th round. All right,
We're in the
here we
11th
go.
round.
Speed this thing up.
All right. Darius Slayton, Baker Mayfield, Darnell Mooney, Amari Rodgers, A.J. Dillon, Tua Tagovailoa, Zach Ertz, Mecole Hardman. Some of the best guys on the board. Mike Davis is on the board as well. Paris Campbell, Nico Collins, Ryan Tannehill.
I like Baker Mayfield, Mike Davis, and Paris Campbell. But we did take Michael Pittman. We could offset it with the Paris Campbell. But to me,
if we passed up Baker, we could also get Tannehill, a whole probably round later.
which is very good.
Tua is still on the board.
Quarterback.
And I don't know that I'd want my backup quarterback in round 11.
I just love him so much.
Yeah,
I
you
know.
do.
It's tough.
I mean, but we don't have a third running back.
We do not currently have a third running back. I'd be fine 2 rounds later. I think this is a fine time for Mike Davis.
I think so as well. I think that's probably that's the pick for me.
I mean, this is the kind of player, again, trade bait. We could end up starting him over both the guys we taken. He could be outproducing them this year. We don't know. Again, Jonathan Taylor.
Be.
I know, but we love Jonathan Taylor more than anything. But you still got Nyheim Hines there, who produced really well.
Sure.
They brought back Marlon Mack, who they will give some carries to as well. I mean,
Are you talking talking us out of our pick at 1-6?
Come on.
No, but I'm just saying it's
man.
insurance. Like, that's in the back of my mind too. Like, we have a guy who's in a 3-headed backfield. Like, he legit is. I love Jonathan Taylor as much as anybody, but he still is. They didn't have to bring Marlon back for a lot. They paid him. He's making decent money. Like, he's gonna get a couple carries. Not enough, I don't think. I mean,
A couple carries.
I took Jonathan Taylor to first. I'm telling you, but I'm just saying this offsets that just in case.
You're scaring me.
That's a just in case pick. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's the right pick.
if we're going to make a run for it this year, Mike Davis is the pick. And if we fall out of it, he's a great trade bait. You know what I mean? Like, he's the player we get in here. Like, we know he's not a long-term asset. We will probably trade him at some point. And whatever we trade him for will be better than whatever is on the board now. Like, if a 23 first was on the board here, but let's gobble up that 23 first.
Oh, a couple rounds ago. Yep.
So let's just go ahead and take Mike Davis and see who's there. Maybe Baker will fall.
Some names on the board: John Brown, Nico Collins, Zach Wilson, Ryan Tannehill, Tariq Cohen, Tyler Higbee, Damian Harris, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Jalen Hurts, Adam Troutman, Van Jefferson, Nyheim Hines, Marvin Jones. Any of those stick out to you?
No, not really.
Not really.
This is where it gets tough.
This is the wasteland.
This is the grind.
Yeah.
The real good value is at quarterback with Tannehill.
Yep.
That's really good value.
And had we, not gone quarterback at all, you could have said, all right, last round we'll take Tua, we'll take Tannehill this round, and we're golden.
But I also wouldn't mind and waiting. Like, we know we're gonna start Herbert. Like, if we the fact that we have Elijah Moore, the upside of a guy like Zach Wilson,
sure,
is there like probably another round from now? What receivers were available? I know it was Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins.
Brandon Cooks is gone. John Brown, Nico Collins, Jamison Crowder, Sterling Shepard, Diami Brown, Van Jefferson, Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones Jr., T.Y. Hilton.
That's like a bummer of a list right there.
Yeah.
It's a real bummer.
What's that tight end? Anything?
Scrolling down a little bit. Donovan Peoples-Jones, upside.
Nah.
You said who is at tight end? Logan Thomas, Tyler Higbee, Adam Troutman, Anthony Ferkser, O.J. Howard, Brevin Jordan, Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, so nobody here. I mean, who's the best player on the board?
I actually like Tyler Higbee personally.
I don't mind.
I think he could have a decent season this year, but we're already pretty set at tight end. But I'm still, like I said, big believer, best available player. To me, he might be the best available. The other guy that I think could be best available when I'm taking the overall picture into account, not just what I think they can get this year, but their upside, I think it might be Nico Collins.
Nico Collins is a player that I absolutely love coming out. I had him higher than most in the industry and my rookie wide receivers. He's literally a guy I talked about throughout our whole process. I love him.
I'm with you.
I know there's no way he shouldn't be there when we come back in the 12th round. I think the best player available is easily Ryan Tannehill in my eyes.
He is the most valuable player out there. He's the most easily the guy that can close my eyes and say, "Yep, we're starting him this week," and I feel fine about it. All the rest of these people, I don't have that easy feeling putting him into my starting lineup at any point. But Ryan Tannehill, I would.
It's a good safety net quarterback if something happens with a sophomore slump with Justin Herbert.
I will say this. I mean, probably several rounds later, you still have guys like Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr. I know they're not nearly the quarterback Ryan Tannehill is.
Derek Carr is always a screaming value. And then instead, Zach Wilson might be there around from now too. But like,
Matt Ryan's still on the board.
do we
Carson
feel like
Wentz.
Nico Collins is do we take Tyler Higbee hoping it pans out and we trade like he's just another tight end that we have? Because again,
I'm not on board with the Higbee pick.
I'm really high on him for this season. I think he could be a major breakout player with Gerald Everett gone now. We saw, I mean, one of the big things that was lacking was they signed him to a long-term deal. One of the things that was just missing was the target volume that he got in the final 6 games of the season before. If he gets anywhere close to that, Matthew Stafford does like to target the tight end.
Jacob Harris is there. I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody else is there.
He's intriguing. I would put him in the mix for me as well. He's just an intriguing player. Is Cole Kmet still on the board?
No, he went about 3 rounds ago.
I know Adam Troutman's up there, but Higbee's like a safe player.
We said we were going to speed this up, and it has come to a screeching halt.
And there's Tannehill there.
All right, here's the 3 options. Nico Collins, Ryan Tannehill, Tyler Higbee. Who are we going with?
I'm going to go Nico. Let's go Nico.
Nico?
I go the upside of Nico as well.
Nico and the Niners. Here we go.
Again, get a player that we like. It might be around early, but it's better to be around early than around late.
Absolutely.
And a player like that. Yep. So that makes it easy. Another we're weak at receivers, so we want to kind of pad that position a little bit as well. Where are we at? Next available.
Next available is going through. It's going through. All right. We are now on our 13th pick. And Tyler Higbee is actually still on the board. So is Damian Harris, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Adam Troutman, James White, Nyheim Hines.
Nyheim Hines here is a player that I like a lot as the screams running back 2 for 2021 value.
He's very interesting. It's just a little
weird.
We have Jonathan Taylor.
That's the weird part about it.
No, it's not weird.
If he goes down.
Yeah, that's not that
you don't feel comfortable starting him at the same time.
No, but we only have 3 running backs. So this more secures our 3 running backs as it is.
I'm all right with that at this point.
There we go. Nyheim Hines
No one else is jumping off the board at me.
All right, Nyheim Hines.
And if Higbee comes back, great. If he doesn't, we miss out a good player, but let's see what other tight ends are possibly there. I still want to see what receivers are there. Troutman's still on the board who offers some upside.
Troutman was the guy that I was looking at, instead of Higbee anyway. So if he ends up still being there.
Now, we did end up passing on quarterback during that time. Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts, and Zach Wilson have all gone as well, along with Ryan Tannehill.
And but there's still Derek Carr out there. There's still Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz did go. So quarterbacks that are Adam Troutman is still there. Quarterbacks that are left: Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, Mac Jones, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Daniel Jones. Actually, also Tom Brady is still on the board.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I'm not. I mean, he's got 2 years at most. I like Daniel Jones upside. I think Kirk Cousins is a safety pick here. And then I like. I
don't mind Sam Darnold.
See, I would take.
Where are we at wide receiver? Anybody any good left?
Wide receiver, we have N'Keal Harry, Anthony Miller, Preston Williams, Traquan Smith, Tylan Wallace, Dwayne Eskridge, Sammy Watkins.
So no.
So no, basically.
So no is the answer.
Yeah. Josh Palmer.
What's that in?
Actually, Tyler Johnson.
Do not bring up Josh Palmer and his 400 yards ever again to me.
Hey, if he gets 400 yards this year, that's a pretty good rookie year. All right. Who's
No,
that tight end?
it won't be. It'll be exactly what he gets every single year forever.
Troutman, Ferkser, Howard, Brevin Jordan, Harrison Bryant, Chris Herndon.
I would gamble on
Jared
Troutman
Everett.
here.
I think I like Troutman here as well.
I would gamble
personally.
Troutman it is.
Troutman.
And I would have no problem coming back if O.J. Howard's still on the
He's
board.
our third tight end, right, Troutman?
He is our third tight end, correct.
I would like to see for a third quarterback coming up here, possibly. We need our second quarterback.
Yeah, we need our second.
So after Troutman, we have to take a quarterback
Yep.
here. Because there's a guy, even to go, I'm okay with Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold.
2 went off the board, Jared Goff and Sam Darnold, but that means we still have Kirk Cousins, Mac Jones, Derek Carr, Daniel Jones.
I can deal with Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr. I think both those guys are super safe. Daniel Jones you could be lighting that pick on fire and just burning it.
I feel like Minnesota desperately wants to get out from Kirk Cousins. All the offseason reports are there. I would rather lean towards Derek Carr, which is crazy because Kirk Cousins is a quarterback one. I honestly wouldn't even mind getting real crazy with it. I would go the youth of Daniel Jones, be okay with having Justin Herbert. I don't need really a big safety net, but Derek Carr I'd be okay with over Kirk Cousins by here.
All right, let's go with Derek Carr. Derek Carr was the one that I was kind of leaning toward.
Okay.
If our quarterback situation was a little bit different, I might be interested in Mac Jones if it was an older guy that we had as a future guy to have Mac Jones.
Maybe Mac Jones comes back.
Mac Jones comes back or Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I'm okay with having that third quarterback on my roster. You never know. You have the same bye weeks in 2 years from now, bye week killer for a quarterback. I wouldn't mind having another third quarterback here with what's left.
If I had those two guys on my roster, Derek Carr and Justin Herbert going into this draft, I would feel okay getting Mac Jones late in the draft and throwing him on my roster.
It's a good thing we got Derek Carr because Jones, Cousins, and Daniel Jones, all three of them did go just now.
Okay.
So a lot of kind of gross running backs are available. Sony Michel, Josh Kelly, Kylan Hill, Michael P. Ryan.
Gio Bernard.
Let's see. Gio Bernard, I'm sure, is on here somewhere.
I was going to say, we can wait 3 more rounds on
What
Gio.
tight ends are there again?
Gerald Everett's still there.
Oh, that's the value.
I like Gerald Everett quite a bit.
That's great value there in Seattle. Just signed that long-term deal. Russell Wilson, produced former second-round pick, handpicked by Sean McVay. I like Gerald Everett there.
Want to go Gerald Everett?
Yep, absolutely. And I believe the offensive coordinator from the Rams went to Seattle, correct, in the offseason? I feel like that was a switch.
I should know that. I don't remember off the top of my head
right now myself.
I feel like that was a switch that was made. Yep.
But again, this is what I love to get as much upside depth at tight end I possibly can because it's such a good throw-in trade value. So
sure.
If you get somebody that's being tight end
DJ
one,
Dallas just went. I missed him.
Oh no!
Oh no!
What are we gonna do?
Watch it.
Blow it up.
Speak kindly. Yeah, start over.
Revert. Undo. There is an undo draft pick button here.
Do you want me to undo the last pick?
Absolutely
No,
not.
keep going. Keep going. We're
TJ, great guy. Loved having you on the show, man. But Gerald Everett. That's where we're going. Same team.
Same team.
Better
Absolutely.
value.
All right.
What round are we in?
We are in round 17, so 4 rounds to go.
Let's go.
Crushes.
Kerryon Johnson, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Dawson Knox, Gabe Davis. A lot of yuck.
I don't mind the Donovan Peoples-Jones here upside.
Rashad Penny.
It looks like he's going to start in 3 wide receiver sets this year for the Browns. 2 receivers that are going to be over $17 million, right around the 16
I can definitely see a situation 2 years from now where he's a starting wide receiver.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's
I'm fine with him. J.D. McKissick's still here. Tyler Johnson, Tom Brady.
The fact that we have Antonio Gibson, we backed up Jonathan Taylor. J.D. McKissick led the league in targets last year and receptions at running back. I would have no problem taking J.D. McKissick this late. Again, we're thin at running back. We'd only have technically 3 guys, but we'd own that situation essentially with the pounder and the pass catcher.
let's do McKissick and hope for Peoples-Jones coming back.
Yeah.
And this would be a situation that I would
okay
maybe
with missing on Jones.
So am I. That's why I said.
If this was a longer draft, we're only going 20 rounds. If this was a longer draft in round 22, 23, I might even be looking at Gluteus Minimus himself just to own the entire backfield.
Oof.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that.
Not a bad strategy. Yep.
So, all right. So we just took J.D. McKissick. Going into the 18th round now, you guys can see on YouTube which players are being taken off the board. Donovan Peoples-Jones just went at 18-1.
See, I knew we'd get sniped.
Gabe Davis as well just went off the board. All right, so let's pause the draft. Go back up. Darrington Evans is on the board. One guy that's on the board that I really like a lot, Amir Smith-Marset from Minnesota. I'm a big fan of his. Colin Johnson in Jacksonville could be interesting.
Yes, it could be.
Ramondre Stevenson.
I could be talked into a young guy right now, for sure.
Is O.J. Howard still available?
Let's look. O.J. Howard, it looks like he is not available. Okay. But if you wanted a young tight end, Trey McKitty and Jared Cook's not young, but both of the current Chargers tight ends are.
I think we're okay at that position.
We go receiver.
Yeah, if we have a wide receiver that's young and jumping off the board, you said Amir.
Amir sounds like
Amir Smith-Marset. Matt Breida's still on the board. He's another interesting one in Buffalo. All right.
I rather like Amir sounds good to me.
Yep, I'm good with that.
Cool. I'm a big fan of his, so I am totally good with going Amir Smith-Marset here. Other names that could be interesting, like I mentioned before, Colin Johnson, Tyler Johnson from Tampa Bay. Drew Lock is still on the board.
Oh, there we go. No.
Ramondre Stevenson.
Drew Lock. He offers the upside with the talent. If he fades out this late, who cares? We can use a third quarterback. And not only that, we're getting a quarterback that's 25 and under, who has a ton of weapons around him.
I'm not loving anything else on the board at this point. You can talk me into Drew Lock.
We're getting a starter.
If it was my draft, I probably wouldn't be doing it because I just don't like the player that much. But
we need a third quarterback.
I understand.
Would you rather go Drew Lock or maybe I got to make sure I pause this. Or would you rather maybe go with Tom Brady, who is also still on the board? If somebody's starting quarterback goes down, Tom Brady is a really valuable asset.
Very valuable asset.
I would rather have Tom Brady. 100%.
I didn't know he's still on the board.
Yep.
I would take Tom Brady here because that locks us in. Again, if we're going to compete. And there's still a chance Drew Lock could be there when we come back. And I would still be okay. That he still would be our third quarterback essentially long term.
I'd be I personally want Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady.
Yep. All right. I think that's a great move for, somebody gets hurt. All of a sudden you have the golden ticket.
And it's crazy. You have a guy who's a quarterback one last year, who's been a quarterback consistently. Why is he there this late? Well, it's a 1QB league.
Man,
it's an easy position.
40-something.
And this is literally could be odds are better. This is his last year than not.
Is he 43 this year?
He's either 43 or 44.
He just said on the radio, I think it was last week in an interview, saying
the end is near.
The end is near.
Yeah.
Well. Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, Drew Lock did end up going, as did Tyler Johnson, a guy I kind of had my eye on.
So we're on our last pick, right?
We are on our final pick. Cornell Powell is on the board. Darrington Evans on the board. Jacoby Myers is on the board. Trey McKitty, Cole Beasley.
Oh, Cole Beasley.
He would be a good 1 to 2 year.
He could be a wide receiver 3 for us. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, he'll be our 4th or 5th guy, but we can start him.
And we're thin. Like we're less sure at that position.
I agree.
Why we take Cole Beasley? 100%.
Done.
Dig went down. He's a wide receiver. He's a wide receiver 1.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's see our team. Let's hear it.
All right, the final picks are going in, and let's look at our squad now. All right, Jonathan Taylor, CeeDee Lamb, Antonio Gibson, Kyle Pitts, Jerry Jeudy, Justin Herbert, Elijah Moore, Michael Pittman Jr., Dallas Goedert, Mike Williams, Mike Davis, Nico Collins, Adam Troutman, Nyheim Hines, Derek Carr, Gerald Everett, Tom Brady, J.D. McKissick, Amir Smith-Marset, and Cole Beasley.
Wow, we are
championship.
Thin at receiver. It's a big mystery of youth there, but we could be abundantly deep as well if it all pans out. That's why I love that safety and have a Cole Beasley pick there, because I didn't realize we're that risque at receiver.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very young. It's a bunch of young guys. CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Michael Pittman Jr., Mike Williams.
Are you doing the sort by position right now?
Yeah, I just sorted by
position. That's a much better way to kind of look at and analyze your team.
Going back, looking at our team now,
and I'm scrolling through. You can see it on YouTube.
My one question mark of what we should have done here then, after looking at our team as a whole, is should we have taken Robert Woods over Jerry Jeudy? Does our team sound... If Jerry Jeudy... I like Jerry Jeudy too.
Sure.
But I think our team sounds more championship caliber if we had Robert Woods locked in there. We took a risk there. That's literally do we win a ship this year, compete for the ship with Jerry Jeudy has to pan out. That's the X factor. Where if we would have went Robert Woods, we still have Robert Woods and one of those all those young receivers we have behind him. You know what I mean? It's just that's where that going back in time. I'm like, okay, when you do this is what's great about the mock draft tool is because
you get to practice.
Are you comfortable with Jerry Jeudy there, or would you feel more safe and more competitive with a Robert Woods? Let's do it again. Hit start draft again. That's what you could do.
See, my one would be: should we have waited a hair longer at quarterback? That was the one for me because the 6th round there's some pretty talented players at wide receiver or other positions. Should we have waited and gone with Tannehill and Tua or some sort of combination? Like
but that's the thing though. Like, okay, Tannehill's for sure safe as a QB1, right? But Justin Herbert offers top, like he's like QB7, QB8
for sure,
QB9, right? I mean,
but even around a two-layer, Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, guys like that are on the board.
Even though it's still one QB, the QB does make a huge difference.
It does.
And we got one that we all love as an elite guy, tier 1 essentially for those kind of quarterbacks.
Yep.
So I don't regret that because round 6 is usually the round where I attack quarterback. And you're right. Maybe we could have waited another round, but at the same time, we saw that run go right after we took him. So we could have missed out on that and stuck with Tannehill. But then now all those other young receivers we're reaching for quarterback because we waited so long. So it could be a catch-22 as well where we waited on it. But now we're just like, okay, we got to take Derek Carr. Now we got to take Kirk Cousins instead of, something along those lines. And we can take Tua, but there's still risk there. Like,
sure.
Anybody's a risk, but I feel way safer with Herbert. You know what I mean?
Definitely safer, but that's why he goes 5 rounds soon.
What about you, man? Is there anything that sticks out of that? Like, you feel like, his is Herbert, mine's Jerry Jeudy with Robert Woods?
I mean, nothing, I don't think groundbreaking that you guys haven't already mentioned. That's like, there's not much left out of that draft that I think is really worrisome. Obviously, the trend that we kind of set forth pretty early was that we were going to take chances on running backs, and we did it. And I think it was to the chagrin, much to the chagrin of our wide receiver core. It kind of suffered. We kind of had to take a little bit of risk there due to the fact that we went out of our, out of my comfort zone, out of your comfort zone a little bit on the running backs. But other than that, I like the team we've assembled. I think it's a good team.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's championship quality, but in
we went very young. I mean, we got
in a
Dallas
year
Goddard.
or two, we could be dominating. You know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of the path we went down in this draft.
I'd be very happy with that team.
Yeah, so would I.
I'd be very happy with that team. Again, I said the only thing that keeps this nagging me is like, man, like you said, I don't know if we're necessarily a championship caliber team. I think Robert Woods would, like the way we end up with that team, our starting core with CeeDee Lamb, who I believe could be a wide receiver 1, and Robert Woods, that combo with how strong we are at quarterback and running back and how safe we are at tight end, I think Robert Woods would have been a difference maker between us. Now, if Jerry Jeudy pans out and they're close, it's fine, but like I almost feel like I know Robert Woods.
But Robert Woods is going to be 11, and we're hoping Jerry Jeudy, he has upside to leapfrog him, but he'll likely end up in that 17, 18, that kind of range.
I'm hoping 14.
Yeah.
Right around.
Yeah.
So I get you. Yeah. Overall, it's good. Check it out on YouTube if you want to actually see the picks and see the mock draft tool. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have tons of content that'll be coming out there as well. That's unique content for Dynasty as well. So check that out. Check out dynastynerds.com. Please go out there, download the mock draft tool. Use it plentiful. Have tons of fun. Screenshot them. Share your teams on Twitter. Let us see them. Comment below on YouTube. Let us know what you think of this team, where you would have went differently, where you thought we made a mistake. And, of course, let us know on Twitter as well. You can always hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Dynasty Rich.
I'm at Dynasty Matt.
And I'm at Dynasty Price.
You can follow the site at Dynasty Nerds. We'll be doing our Superflex tight end premium draft next from a completely different position. Let's see how we go there. It's going to be a completely different strategy. See you next week, Nerd Herd.
Adios.